That guy got 2 exotic? Ouroboros and a tardigrade? Are you kidding me? I used all 4 of my characters. I couldn't even get a single Ouroboros to drop for me. And he got 2? What the? Hey, what's up everyone, Same Time Gaming here. Welcome back for another Division 2 build video. Well guys, the build I have for you guys today will actually going to help you clear out the Incursion if you haven't done it already. Now, you can obviously do this Incursion with 3 DPS and 1 healer. I'm speaking with experience because I've done it multiple times, so that's why I'm saying this. You can also use 1 tank, 2 DPS and 1 healer if you want to be on a safer side, but obviously, like I said, just 3 DPS and 1 healer is perfectly fine. You can also go crazy with 4 DPS. I mean, I went there and it was kind of a fun and hilarious experience. We did clear it, but I mean, yeah, it's whatever, right? So the build I have for you guys today is obviously a healing build, and it's not just a healing build, it's actually going to heal, but also at the same time going to provide you a lot of buff and debuff for the enemies, which is a really good thing. So if nobody's using a healing build, if you're matchmaking, you're finding all DPS every time, why don't you make a healing build and use it like the way I'm actually going to tell you? Because we're not just going to use just healing skill, we're going to change our skills multiple times, depends on the encounter, and I'm going to get to that in a moment. But first, let me just show you the build. So whenever we think about healing, we think about future initiative, and that's pretty much what I have over here. But let me just talk about the specialization here first. We're going to be using the survivalist specialization for a lot of reasons, actually. First of all, obviously, we're going to get 10% protection from elite, which is nice. We're going to get more healing done, 15%, which is also good. We're also going to be providing 10% of damage to target out of cover to our entire group members to the status effect target. So whoever enemies are affected by status effect, your entire group will be doing 10% damage to target out of cover to them, which is a really good damage buff there. And trust me, there will be the enemies that going to be on status effect pretty much all the time if you use it right. Now, also the specialization gives you this crossbow, which pretty much can one-shot the Chunga's armor, which is really good. Now, you can use the technician specialization if you want for that +1 skill tier. You can go for it, but I still feel like the survivalist is the go-to choice here. As for the weapons, we're using just the high-end weapon over here with Reformation Talent. So we get that extra 30% of repair skill for 15 seconds every time we grant a headshot. I mean, we don't need to kill it, just do a headshot to increase our repair skill. So why not? You can also use a weapon with Sledgehammer Talent or like Perfect Sledgehammer Talent, something like this. So whenever you fire a grenade, you will apply a mark, and then everybody will do 40% damage to armor, and also the enemy is going to have 30% of movement debuff for 10 seconds, which could be a really good thing for DPSing down the bosses. Now, as for the next weapon is our Scorpio. Like, Scorpio is pretty much my main weapon here, and that's pretty much what I'm using and running around and shooting enemies, because with this weapon, we're providing a lot of group utility and also getting synergized with our backpack talent, which I'm going to talk about in a moment. So we're using the Scorpio because obviously for the disorient and shock, which is a status effect again, and that is obviously going to increase our group members damage by 10%, like the 10% damage to target out of cover from the specialization, which is amazing. So your job is to basically just spam this weapon every time. That's all I can say. Now, as for the gears, well, pretty much obviously we're going to be using 4-piece fusion initiative because we got the repair skill, we got the skill duration, and we got that beautiful ground control talent, which whenever you have your team members armor full, also it applies to you as well, but you're giving them 15% of weapon and skill damage at the same time, which I think you should make sure that their armor is full because you're a healer and that's your job, am I right? So that's pretty much it. But we're using the chest piece, and that's actually buffing that damage from 15% to 25%, which is amazing. So that's a really nice buff there for their weapon damage as well as their skill if they're using a skill. So it's a really good option. So you definitely want to use the chest piece of Future Initiative. As for the attributes, you can actually use a repair skill pretty much everywhere and have a skill haste mod in the mod slot, and you'll be fine. But if you feel like that you need a little bit more skill haste, you can obviously change the repair skill attribute to like skill haste attribute as well. So it really depends on how quickly you're getting your skill back. Now, speaking of skills, we're actually going to be using multiple skills, not just the chem launcher and the healing hive. We're going to be using a lot of other skills. For example, for the first encounter, you can actually use a decoy and place the decoy so the turrets can target the decoy and your group members can climb up and just pretty much destroy the turret, the weak point, and it's done. Or you can use EMP sticky bomb and just land the EMP sticky on the turret, which disables the turret, and you can just go and climb up like your group members and destroy the weak point at the same time. So that's also an option. You can also use a jammer pulse there, for example, in the second encounter, when there's the drones comes in, like I think there's 4 drones that comes out, so you can just jam them and your group members can obviously take it down. So there's multiple places you can use it. Also in the second boss fight, when the boss got the aggro and chasing someone, you can actually place a decoy right underneath the sprinkler, which they're going for. And when the boss goes there with the guy they're chasing, it can actually change their target to the decoy, because that's the bigger threat there. For some reason, it is actually still, even though they have the marker, the aggro, but they will still just gonna hit the decoy by standing right underneath the sprinkler, and you can just wet the boss and start DPSing, which is really fun. And as for the final boss fight, you can also use the EMP sticky to the sniper turret, because we know the sniper turret hits really hard and pretty much one-shots you, so you can use that over there. Or you can also use the jammer at the same time. So we're going to be cycling our skill throughout the encounter, depends on what we need when we need, okay? So that's the skills. Now, as for the other two gears we're using is obviously the exotic I have is the BTSU, because we're using the hive. We're going to destroy the hive and overcharge everybody's skill. So everybody's going to get like overcharged skills. So their shield's going to get overcharged. Their reviver hive's going to get overcharged, which is going to come in really handy. So if they're using the hive to revive someone, or if all your group members just died recently and they don't have their hive, so you can just BTSU overcharge and give their hive back to them. So the next time they go down, they have a hive to revive them, which is also an option. Now, I mainly use the BTSU to the fight where it's absolutely needed. For example, the first encounter with the boss encounter, the first boss fight, when the boss comes out of the door, I actually BTSU like activated by destroying my hive, so that everybody gets like a overcharged shield. So if they're using a shield, they can just block the boss from hitting the tanker there with its minigun. So they can just stand there and tank it and try to kill the boss, while I'm just spamming my chem launcher heals, which is obviously an overcharge heal. So that pretty much like overhealing the damage the boss is doing. So you can also do it like that. Also, in many situations, for example, the second encounter where the drone comes out, I can use a jammer pulse to jam the drone, and then I destroy my hive, give myself BTSU, and obviously my jammer comes back with the overcharge this time, and I can jam it again, the drones, and that's enough time for my group members to just destroy the drone. So you could play it like that. There are many ways you can overcharge. Even the first encounter, if you're using a decoy, or like I said, the EMP sticky, you can overcharge and give yourself the EMP sticky or the decoy back and place it again, so you can be quick with it. Or you can just keep on spamming BTSU when it's out of cooldown. There's a 120-second cooldown, so once it's done, you can just keep destroying your hive and give BTSU to everybody. Like, you could do that. There's a very, very good gloves there, and it's absolutely an amazing, gear piece to have on this setup. As for the backpack, this is where a lot of damage actually comes from. Right now I'm using a normal, like a high-end backpack with, which is Alp Summit, gives me 20% repair skill, because my stats are decent here. I have repair skill and skill haste and repair skill mod, but the talent is what it matters. Like, we have Opportunistic here. Previously we were using Safeguard right back in the days, but Opportunistic is a really, really good talent here, because whenever you're damaging enemies with a shotgun or a marksman rifle, you're just pretty much amplifying everybody's damage from all sources actually. So it's going to be like weapon, skill, like anything that you do to those debuffed enemies that you marked with Opportunistic, they're going to take extra 10% damage. So your group members are going to be doing 10% extra damage to them, which is amplified damage. So that's a really, really nice damage buff over there for your entire group. Now, you could actually use the named talent, which is the perfect version of the Opportunistic, and it comes with the setup backpack. Now, the problem with the setup backpack is that it is not going to synergize with your healing build, but if you don't really care about it, just use this setup, because it gives you 15% of more damage instead of just 10% from the normal version. So you get a 5% extra boost there, so you can definitely use it. But obviously, if you want to min-max it or perfect it out, you probably want to farm one with like repair skill, skill haste, something like that, and then maybe you can change the blue core attribute to skill tier, because this one drops with blue core attribute. So that's the only problem there, because if you use it like this, then you're going to lose one skill tier there, which is pretty sad. But if you're using technician specialization, maybe you can use it that time. But then you will be losing the utility that the survivalist specialization provides you. If you're okay with it, then you can go ahead and just slap in the perfectly opportunistic, the setup backpack, and you're done with it. So choose what you want, but make sure you have either perfectly opportunistic on the backpack or just opportunistic on the backpack. Just make sure you have this talent, because this is where you're going to be providing a lot of buff for your entire group. Also, Future Initiative is providing the buff as well. So you're just spamming the shotgun to every enemy you see, like mostly the chungas and also the bosses, and even the drones, drones as well, and also like sniper turret at the final boss fight. So there's a lot of like buff happening with this build, not just healing at the same time. Definitely change your skills, like I mentioned, you know, depending on the encounter, and you'll just be fine. It's a really good setup to use for this incursion, and you will have no trouble clearing it out if you already know the mechanics. You know, you could just play it out, and you'll do just fine. And hopefully you're gonna get the Ouroboros SMG from the final chest. I didn't manage to get it. I used all 4 of my characters, which is unfortunate. I did end up getting an exotic from the boss, but that was a vile mask, and I feel very sad about it, but it is what it is. But yeah, that's pretty much for the video. Hope you guys will obviously going to get it, and I will see you guys in the next one. Till then, peace.